Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crawled out from under the engine panel. The ship's cooling system was acting up again, and he was the only one who could fix it. As chief engineer of the colony ship Meridian, Jake spent most of his days keeping the old vessel running. It was not glamorous work, but someone had to do it. The Meridian had been traveling through space for 3 months now. They were carrying 500 families to a new world called Kepler 442b. Jake had signed up for this mission because he wanted a fresh start. His military days were behind him, and he hoped civilian life would be quieter. He was wrong. The alarm began blaring just as Jake finished his repairs. Red lights flashed throughout the engineering bay. Captain Lisa Chen's voice came over the speakers. All senior staff to the bridge immediately. "We have a situation." Jake grabbed his tool belt and ran to the bridge. When he arrived, he saw the other officers already gathered around the main screen. Dr. Amy Phillips, the ship's doctor, looked worried. Commander Ben Richards, head of security, had his hand on his weapon. "What's going on, Captain?" Jake asked. Captain Chen pointed at the screen. In the distance, Jake could see pieces of a destroyed ship floating in space. The metal was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was smooth and curved, almost like it was grown instead of built. "We picked up a distress signal 20 minutes ago," the captain explained. "When we arrived, we found this wreckage. The ship that sent the signal is completely destroyed." "Are there survivors?" Dr. Phillips asked. "That's what we need to find out," Chen replied. "I want a rescue team ready in 10 minutes. Jake studied the wreckage on the screen. The design was clearly not human. This was their first contact with alien technology, and it was not going well. "I'm going with the rescue team," Jake said. "You're an engineer, not a soldier," Commander Richards argued. "If there are survivors, they might need technical help," Jake replied. "Besides, I've seen combat before." Captain Chen nodded. "Take Morrison with you, Ben. We might need someone who can figure out alien technology." An hour later, Jake found himself floating in space inside a bulky rescue suit. The team had found a small section of the alien ship that was still intact. Emergency lights flickered inside, and Jake could hear the hiss of escaping air. "Life signs detected," Richards said through the radio. 3 beings, all alive but weak." They cut through the hull and entered the damaged ship. The interior was beautiful despite the destruction. The walls seemed to glow with a soft blue light. Everything was curved and smooth like the inside of a shell. They found the survivors in what looked like a medical bay. 2 of them appeared to be guards or soldiers. They were tall with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They were unconscious but breathing. The 3rd survivor was different. She was smaller than the others, and her skin had a silver tint. She wore elaborate clothing that looked expensive. Jewels decorated her forehead and arms. Even unconscious, she looked important. "Probably their leader," Richards whispered. Jake knelt beside her and checked her pulse. It was weak and irregular. "She's in bad shape. We need to get them back to the ship immediately." Dr. Phillips met them in the medical bay of the Meridian. She had prepared 3 beds and had her equipment ready. The 2 guards remained unconscious, but the female alien began to wake up as they moved her to a bed. Her eyes opened slowly. They were large and completely black with tiny points of light like stars. When she saw the humans around her, she tried to sit up. "Stay calm," Dr. Phillips said gently. "You're safe now." The alien woman looked around the room with obvious fear and disgust. She spoke in a language that sounded like music, but her tone was clearly angry. "She doesn't trust us," Jake observed. Dr. Phillips began running medical scans. After a few minutes, her face went pale. "Jake, we have a problem. She's been poisoned." "Poisoned? By who?" "I don't know, but it's something I've never seen before. It's attacking her nervous system. If we don't find a treatment soon, she'll die." The alien woman seemed to understand that they were talking about her condition. She spoke again, this time more urgently. "I wish we could understand her," Dr. Phillips said. Jake noticed a device on the woman's wrist. It looked like some kind of computer. He pointed to it and then to himself. The woman hesitated, then touched the device. Suddenly, words appeared in the air above it. "Universal translator," Jake said with amazement. The words changed to English. The woman spoke again, and this time they could understand her. "I am Princess Zarathia of the Vorthak Empire," she said weakly. "You will not touch me with your primitive medicine. I would rather die than be contaminated by your inferior technology." Dr. Phillips looked shocked. "Princess, you're dying. We want to help you. I do not need help from lesser beings, Zarathea replied. Her voice was getting weaker, but her pride remained strong. Jake stepped forward. Princess, with respect, you're going to die if you don't let us help. Your people's medicine isn't here. We are. Zarathea looked at him with contempt. Human arrogance. You think you can succeed where the greatest minds of the galaxy have failed? Maybe, Jake said simply. We might not be as advanced as your people, but we're good at solving problems in ways nobody expects. The princess closed her eyes. Leave me to die with dignity. Jake looked at Dr. Phillips, who shook her head sadly. The poison was spreading through the alien woman's system. In a few hours, she would be dead. But Jake was not ready to give up. He had not saved countless lives during the war just to watch someone die because of pride. He looked at the princess again. She was beautiful even while dying. There was something about her that made him want to fight for her life. Doctor, he said quietly, run every test you can on that poison. I'm going to study their medical equipment. Maybe we can find something they missed. Dr. Phillips nodded. I'll do what I can. As Jake left the medical bay, he heard Princess Zarathea whisper something in her own language. The translator did not pick it up, but her tone sounded almost hopeful. Maybe, just maybe, the stubborn human engineer could prove her wrong. Jake spent the next 6 hours in the alien ship's wreckage, trying to understand their medical technology. The equipment was far more advanced than anything humans had built, but it was also completely different from human thinking. Everything was designed to follow exact rules. There was no room for improvisation or trying new approaches. The alien medical computers had detailed information about thousands of diseases, but when they encountered something new, they simply gave up. No wonder they couldn't cure her, Jake muttered to himself. He brought several pieces of alien equipment back to the Meridian. Dr. Phillips met him in her lab, looking exhausted. How is she? Jake asked, getting worse. The poison is spreading to her motor functions. She can barely move her arms now. Amy pulled up a scan on her computer. I've analyzed the poison as much as I can. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Jake looked at the data. The poison was complex, but something about it seemed familiar. Amy, this reminds me of neurotoxins we used to see in the war. Remember the stuff the rebels used to use? You think this is based on Earth toxins? Maybe, but modified to work on alien biology. Jake pulled up another screen. Look at this. The way it attacks nerve cells is similar to some snake venoms, but it's been engineered to be much more effective. Dr. Phillips studied the comparison. You're right. But if it's based on Earth toxins, then maybe Earth antidotes could work. That's what I'm thinking. But we'd need to modify them for alien biology. They work through the night, testing different combinations of human medicine and alien technology. Princess Zarathea grew weaker with each passing hour. Sometimes she was awake, watching them work with obvious disapproval. You are wasting your time, she said during one of her conscious periods. The greatest doctors in the galaxy have studied poisons like this. You cannot succeed where they have failed. Jake looked up from his work. Princess, your doctors are probably very smart, but they think inside rules. Sometimes the best solutions come from breaking the rules. Chaos is not wisdom, she replied weakly. Maybe not, but sometimes chaos is exactly what you need. By morning, Jake had an idea. It was crazy and it was dangerous, but it might work. Amy, what if we don't try to cure the poison directly? What if we work around it? What do you mean? Jake pulled up a diagram of the human nervous system. The poison is blocking her nerve signals. But what if we could give her access to a healthy nervous system while we work on a cure? Dr. Phillips stared at him. Jake, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? Neural linking. We use the interface technology from the ship's maintenance systems. I link my nervous system to hers temporarily. It would give her body access to healthy nerve pathways while we develop a real cure. That's insane. Neural linking is only used for controlling ship systems. Linking two living beings? It's never been tested. So we test it now. Dr. Phillips shook her head. The risks are enormous. It could kill both of you. She's going to die anyway. This gives her a chance. They called Captain Chen and Commander Richards to discuss the plan. Richards thought it was too dangerous. Captain Chen was worried about losing her chief engineer. Jake, I can't let you risk your life like this, the captain said. Captain, this woman is the first alien we've ever met. If she dies because we were too afraid to take risks, what does that say about humanity? Princess Zarathea had been listening to the conversation through her translator. When Jake finished speaking, she tried to sit up. You would risk your life for me. A stranger who has shown you nothing but contempt? Jake looked at her directly. Yes. Why? Because it's the right thing to do, and because I think you're worth saving. For the first time since they found her, the princess looked uncertain. She studied Jake's face as if trying to understand something completely foreign. I do not understand your species, she said quietly. We don't always understand ourselves, Jake replied, but we try to do what's right even when it's hard. Dr. Phillips brought in Dr. Sam Martinez, the ship's neural technology specialist. Sam had developed the interface systems that allowed humans to control ship functions directly with their thoughts. Adapting the technology for biological linking was possible, but extremely risky. The neural pathways are completely different, Sam explained. Human thoughts work one way. Alien thoughts probably work another. Forcing them to connect could cause permanent brain damage. What if we don't force them? Jake asked. What if we just create a bridge and let the connection develop naturally? That might work. But Jake, you'd be sharing more than just nerve signals. Thoughts, memories, emotions, everything could cross over. Jake looked at Princess Zarathea. She was watching him with those strange star-filled eyes. For a moment he thought he saw something other than contempt in them. I'm willing to take that risk, he said. And if I refuse? The princess asked. Then you die, and I'll always wonder if I could have saved you. Zarathea was quiet for a long time. Finally she spoke. You are either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. Your people value individual life so highly. In my empire, one life means little compared to the greater good. Maybe that's the difference between us, Jake said. We think every life matters. The princess closed her eyes. When she opened them again, Jake saw that she had made her decision. Very well, human engineer. Show me what your chaos can accomplish. Dr. Martinez and Dr. Phillips spent the rest of the day preparing the equipment. They had to modify the neural interfaces to work with alien biology. It was delicate work, and they only had one chance to get it right. As they worked, Jake sat with Princess Zarathea. Her condition was getting worse, but she remained conscious. Tell me about your world, she said quietly. Jake described Earth, the blue oceans, the green forests, the bustling cities. He told her about human history, about wars and peace, about art and music and literature. Your people fight each other often, she observed. Yes, but we also help each other, even strangers, even enemies sometimes. This makes no sense from a strategic perspective. Strategy isn't everything. Sometimes you have to follow your heart instead of your head. Zarathea looked puzzled. Heart, you make decisions with your circulatory organ? Jake laughed despite the situation. It's an expression. It means following your emotions and instincts instead of just logic. Emotions are weaknesses to be controlled. Sometimes. But sometimes they show us what's really important. As evening approached, the equipment was ready. Jake lay on a medical bed next to Princess Zarathea. Electrodes were attached to both their heads. Dr. Martinez checked the connections one final time. Remember, he said, if anything feels wrong, tell us immediately. We can break the connection, but it might take a few seconds. Jake nodded. He looked at Zarathea. Are you ready? She met his eyes. I am still not certain this will work. Neither am I, but I'm certain it's worth trying. Dr. Martinez activated the neural link. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Jake felt something strange in his mind, like an echo of thoughts that weren't his own. The connection was forming. The neural link activated with a strange tingling sensation in Jake's mind. At first, he only felt his own thoughts, but then something else began to creep in. It was like hearing a whisper in a language he almost understood. Princess Zarathea gasped. Her eyes widened as the connection strengthened. Through the link, Jake could feel her surprise and fear. It's working, Dr. Phillips said, watching the monitors. Her nervous system is stabilizing. The poison is still there, but her body is using Jake's neural pathways to function. Jake felt strange. His thoughts were still his own, but he could sense another presence in his mind. It was careful and controlled, very different from his own chaotic human thinking. How do you feel? Dr. Martinez asked. Different, Jake replied. Like I'm not alone in my head anymore. Through the link, he sensed Zarathea's confusion. Her people's minds worked in orderly patterns, but human thoughts seemed to jump around randomly. She was struggling to understand how Jake could function with so much mental chaos. Then the memories began to flow. Jake saw flashes of Zarathea's life. He saw a vast golden city with towers that reached into the clouds. He saw millions of beings bowing as she passed by. He felt the weight of responsibility she carried as heir to an empire that controlled dozens of worlds. But he also felt her loneliness. Despite being surrounded by people, she was isolated by her position. Everyone she met wanted something from her. Every relationship was political. She had never had a real friend. In return, Zarathea experienced Jake's memories. She saw Earth's blue skies and felt the warmth of the sun on human skin. She experienced his childhood, playing with friends who cared about him just because he was Jake. Not because of his position or wealth. She felt his memories of war, the fear, the pain, but also the bonds between soldiers who fought to protect each other. She experienced his decision to leave the military because he was tired of violence, and his hope for a peaceful life on a new world. "This is overwhelming," Zarathea whispered. "How do you live with so many emotions?" "You just do," Jake replied. "They make life worth living." Through the link, she felt his genuine concern for her. He really was risking his life just to save her, with no expectation of reward. The concept was so foreign to her that she had trouble accepting it. "In my empire, no one does anything without expecting something in return," she said. "Maybe that's why you need empires to make people cooperate," Jake replied. "We learn to help each other just because it's right." Dr. Phillips and her team used the time to study the poison more carefully. With Zarathea's nervous system temporarily supported by Jake's, they could run tests without risking her life. "The poison is definitely engineered," Dr. Phillips reported. "Someone designed this specifically to target Vorthak biology. It's too precise to be natural. Who would do such a thing?" Zarathea asked. Through the neural link, Jake felt her growing realization. She knew who was responsible, but she didn't want to believe it. "The rebels," she said finally. "They've been attacking ships in the outer systems, but I thought they were just criminals and pirates." "Maybe they're more organized than your people thought," Jake suggested. Over the hours, the mental connection between them grew stronger. Jake began to understand Zarathea's language and could feel her emotions directly. She experienced his memories of human cooperation, people working together to build cities, to explore space, to help each other in times of crisis. "Your people fought many wars," she observed, experiencing his memories of human history. "Yes, but we learned from them. We realized that working together was better than fighting. My people learned the opposite lesson. We learned that only strength brings order." "Maybe both approaches have merit," Jake said, "but strength without compassion becomes tyranny." Through the link, Zarathea felt his deep belief in the value of individual freedom and choice. It was completely contrary to everything she had been taught about proper society. How can billions of people make good choices if they are not guided by those wiser than themselves? She asked. How can a few people make good choices for billions if they don't understand their lives? Jake replied. The conversation continued through the night. Dr. Phillips and her team worked to develop a cure for the poison, while Jake and Zarathea explored each other's minds and cultures. Jake learned about the vast scope of the Vorthak Empire. Thousands of worlds with different species all united under a single government. It was impressive but also fragile. Order was maintained through fear and rigid hierarchy. Zarathea learned about human resilience. Despite having no empire and no advanced technology compared to galactic standards, humans had survived and thrived through adaptability and cooperation. Your people take enormous risks, she observed, experiencing his memories of space exploration. That's how we learn and grow. Safe choices don't lead to progress. But many of your people die because of these risks. Yes. But their sacrifices help others live better lives. That's the choice they made. The concept of voluntary sacrifice for others was difficult for her to understand. In her empire, sacrifice was demanded by authority, not freely given. As dawn approached, something changed in the neural link. The connection that had started as a medical necessity was becoming something deeper. Jake could feel Zarathea's growing respect for humanity, and she could feel his growing affection for her. This is not supposed to happen, she said quietly. What? I am beginning to care about you. About your people. This compromises my judgment. Maybe good judgment isn't just about logic, Jake replied. Maybe caring about others makes your decisions better, not worse. Dr. Phillips interrupted their conversation. I think we found something. The poison has a weakness, but exploiting it requires a very precise combination of human and Vorthak medical technology. Can you cure her? Jake asked. Maybe, but we'll need to maintain the neural link while we try. If the connection breaks too soon, the treatment might not work. Jake felt Zarathia's fear through the link. Not fear of death, but fear of what she was feeling for him. In her empire, relationships were arranged for political advantage. Personal feelings were considered dangerous. I should not feel this way about an alien, she whispered. Why not? Jake asked. Are we really so different? Through the link, he showed her his feelings. His respect for her strength and intelligence. His admiration for her beauty, both physical and spiritual. His growing love for the person he had discovered behind the royal facade. Zarathia was overwhelmed by the intensity of human emotion. Her people felt love, but it was controlled and rational. What Jake felt was wild and passionate and completely genuine. Your emotions are so strong, she said. How do you function? They give us strength. Love makes us want to be better people. In my world, love is weakness. It makes you vulnerable. Maybe vulnerability isn't always bad. Maybe letting someone else matter to you makes you stronger, not weaker. Dr. Phillips began the treatment process. The cure would take several hours to work, and the neural link would need to remain stable throughout the process. Are you ready? She asked. Jake looked at Zarathia through their shared connection. He could feel her conflicted emotions, hope for life, fear of death, confusion about her feelings for him, worry about her duty to her empire. We're ready, he said. As the treatment began, Jake felt the princess's gratitude through the neural link. For the first time in her life, someone was helping her without expecting anything in return. Someone valued her life simply because she was herself, not because she was royalty. The feeling was overwhelming. Through tears, she whispered, "Thank you." Jake squeezed her hand. "Don't thank me yet. Let's see if this actually works." But they both knew that something had already worked. The connection between them had become more than medical necessity. It had become the foundation of something neither of them had expected to find in the vast emptiness of space. The treatment continued, and with it, their growing bond. Whatever happened next, their lives would never be the same. The treatment was working. After 12 hours, the poison in Zarathia's system had been reduced by half. Dr. Phillips was optimistic that they could cure her completely within another day. Then, the alarm started blaring. "Captain, to the bridge immediately," came the announcement over the ship's speakers. "We have multiple contacts approaching at high speed." Jake felt Zarathia's sudden anxiety through the neural link. She knew what those ships meant. "My people have found me," she said. Captain Chen's voice came over the medical bay speakers. "Princess, we're detecting 5 large warships heading our way." "Are these your people?" "Yes," Zarathia replied weakly. "Led by my brother, Prince Kethavar." Through the neural link, Jake felt her mixed emotions. Relief that rescue had come, but also dread about what would happen next. "They will not understand the neural link," she explained to Jake. "They will think you are trying to control my mind." "Can you explain it to them?" "I can try, but my brother is very protective, and General Morden, who commands our military, does not trust other species." An hour later, the Vorthax ships arrived. They were massive golden vessels that dwarfed the human colony ship. Jake had never seen anything so beautiful and intimidating at the same time. Captain Chen brought Prince Kethvar and General Morden aboard the Meridian for negotiations. Jake watched them through the security cameras. The prince looked like a male version of Zarathia, tall and elegant with the same silver-tinted skin. General Morden was older and scarred, clearly a veteran warrior. They came to the medical bay with a full escort of guards. When Prince Kethavar saw his sister connected to Jake by medical equipment, his face hardened with anger. "What have you done to her?" he demanded. "They saved my life," Zarathia said quickly. "Brother, I was poisoned. The humans found a way to cure me. By connecting your mind to this alien? This is an abomination." General Morden stepped forward, his hand on his weapon. "Princess, these creatures may have infected you with alien thoughts. You must come with us immediately for purification." Through the neural link, Jake felt Zarathia's fear. Not fear of death, but fear of losing the connection that had become so important to her. "General," she said carefully, "the neural link cannot be severed safely yet. If you break it too soon, both the human and I will die." "Better that than contamination," Morden replied coldly. Dr. Phillips stepped forward. "With respect, General, the princess is still very sick. The treatment needs another day to be complete." Prince Kethavar studied the medical readings. He was clearly intelligent and could see that his sister was indeed still suffering from the poison. "How do we know you are not lying?" he asked. "How do we know this is not a trick to control her mind?" Jake spoke up. "Because if we wanted to control her, we wouldn't need to risk my life to do it." The prince turned his attention to Jake for the first time. Through the neural link, Jake felt Zarathea urging him to be careful. "You are the one connected to my sister?" "Yes, Your Highness." "Why would you risk your life for a stranger?" Jake felt Zarathea's tension as she waited for his answer. "Because it was the right thing to do. And because she's not a stranger anymore." General Morden's eyes narrowed. "You speak as if you have feelings for the princess. This proves the danger of the connection." "The danger," Jake said firmly, "is letting someone die because you're afraid of taking risks." Prince Kethavar walked closer to Jake's bed. "Human, do you understand who my sister is? She is heir to an empire that spans 1,000 worlds. She is promised in marriage to Prince Veltar of the Zephyrian system, a union that will secure peace between our peoples for generations." Through the neural link, Jake felt Zarathea's pain at the mention of her arranged marriage. She had never told him about this. "I understand she's important," Jake said, "but that doesn't change the fact that she's a person who deserves to live." "A person?" General Morden laughed harshly. "She is royalty. Her personal desires are irrelevant compared to her duty." Jake felt anger rising, both his own and Zarathea's. Her personal desires are what make her worth saving. The argument was interrupted by an urgent message from the Vorthak fleet. Nicole Taylor, the Meridian's communications officer, brought the translation to Prince Kethavar. "Your Highness, we're receiving reports of attacks throughout the outer systems. The rebels have struck 3 more worlds in the past week." Prince Kethavar's expression grew grim. "The situation is worse than we thought." "Sister, we need you back immediately. The Empire requires strong leadership." Through the neural link, Jake learned more about the rebellion. It wasn't just random attacks. The rebels were systematically targeting trade routes and government installations. They had weapons and organization that suggested backing from a major power. "The poison," Jake said suddenly. "It was specifically designed to kill Vorthak royalty, wasn't it?" Zarathea nodded through the link. "The rebels knew exactly how to make something our medicine couldn't cure." Dr. Phillips looked up from her medical scans. "That suggests they have access to detailed biological information about your species, and knowledge of your medical limitations." General Morden's face darkened. "Are you suggesting we have traitors among our own people?" "I'm suggesting," Jake said, "that your traditional approach to medicine is predictable. The rebels counted on your doctors following standard procedures. They didn't expect humans to try something completely different. Human chaos is not superior to Vorthak order," the general snapped. "Maybe not superior," Jake replied, "but in this case it was more effective." Prince Kethavar studied the medical data more carefully. Despite his distrust of humans, he was intelligent enough to see the truth. "The human treatment is working," he admitted. "But sister, even if they cure you, you must return immediately. The marriage to Prince Veltar cannot be delayed." Through the neural link, Jake felt Zarathea's despair. She had experienced human concepts of love and choice. The thought of returning to a life where every decision was made for her was unbearable. "Brother," she said quietly, "what if there is another way?" "What do you mean?" "The rebels succeeded because they understood our weaknesses. They knew we would follow traditional procedures. But the humans succeeded because they tried something new." "Your point?" "Maybe we need to learn from human adaptability. Maybe rigid tradition is not always the best approach." General Morden stepped forward angrily. "Princess, the neural link has clearly affected your judgment." "You speak like an alien." "No," Zarathea said firmly. "I speak like someone who has learned that there are different ways to solve problems." Jake felt her growing determination through the link. She was making a choice that would change everything. "I want to propose an alliance," she said, "between the Vorthak Empire and humanity." The room fell silent. Prince Kethavar stared at his sister in shock. "An alliance? Sister, humans are barely capable of interstellar travel. What could they possibly offer us?" "Innovation, adaptability, the willingness to try solutions that others consider impossible." General Morden laughed scornfully. "We do not need the help of primitives." "The primitives," Zarathea said coldly, "succeeded where your best doctors failed." Jake felt her resolve strengthening. She was no longer just fighting for her life. She was fighting for a new future for both their peoples. The rebels will continue to attack, she continued. They will develop new weapons and new strategies. Our traditional responses will not be enough. And you think these humans can help us? Her brother asked. I think, Zarathea said, looking directly at Jake, that together we might accomplish things neither of us could do alone. Prince Kethvar was quiet for a long moment. Finally he spoke. Even if I agreed to consider such an alliance, Father would never approve. And your marriage to Prince Veltar is essential for peace with the Zephyrians. Through the neural link, Jake felt Zarathea's pain, but also her determination. Then I will have to convince Father that some things are more important than tradition, she said. General Morden drew his weapon. Princess, you are clearly no longer thinking rationally. We will break the neural link now and take you home for treatment. If you break the link now, Dr. Phillips said urgently, you'll kill them both. That is acceptable, the general replied coldly. But Prince Kethvar held up his hand. Wait, sister, are you certain this is what you want? Through the neural link, Zarathea shared her feelings with Jake one final time. Love, hope, determination, and fear all mixed together. Yes, she said, I am certain. The confrontation was about to reach a breaking point. Everything they had built together hung in the balance. The tension in the medical bay was so thick Jake could feel it even without the neural link. General Morden's weapon was drawn. Prince Kethvar looked torn between duty and concern for his sister. And Captain Chen had quietly positioned her security team at the entrances. Then Dr. Phillips made a discovery that changed everything. Wait, she said urgently, looking at her latest scans. I'm detecting something new in the princess's blood. The poison didn't just attack her nervous system. It left behind markers. What kind of markers? Prince Kethvar asked. Tracking markers. Whoever poisoned her can follow her anywhere she goes. General Morden lowered his weapon, suddenly alert. Are you certain? Completely. The markers are very sophisticated. They're designed to be undetectable by normal Vorthak medical scans. Through the neural link, Jake felt Zarathea's realization and horror. They're not just trying to kill me, she said. They're trying to use me to find the Imperial fleet. If they can track the princess, Prince Kethvar said grimly, they can ambush any ship she boards. Captain Chen stepped forward. How long do we have? Dr. Phillips checked her readings. The markers are getting stronger. I'd estimate 6 hours before they're active enough for long-range tracking. Can you remove them? General Morden demanded. Not with our equipment. The markers are integrated into her cellular structure. It would require medical technology we don't have. Our ships have the necessary equipment, the general said. We must return immediately. No, Jake said firmly. If she goes back to your ships, the rebels will track her straight to your fleet. You'll be leading them right to your people. Then what do you suggest, human? Prince Kethvar asked. Jake looked at Zarathea through the neural link. He could feel her thoughts racing as she worked through the problem. We stay here, she said. We let them come to us, but on our terms. That's suicide, General Morden protested. The Meridian is not a warship. No, Zarathea agreed. But it doesn't need to be. Jake, tell them about asymmetric warfare. Through the neural link, Jake had shared his military memories with her. She had learned about human tactics that used intelligence and creativity instead of overwhelming force. The rebels expect you to respond like Vorthak military, Jake explained. Overwhelming force, direct confrontation, traditional tactics. They're prepared for that. And you suggest we do what instead? The general asked skeptically. We use their tracking system against them. We make them think they know where the princess is, then surprise them. Captain Chen was beginning to understand. You want to set a trap, exactly. But not the kind of trap they'll expect. Over the next few hours, they developed a plan that combined Vorthak technology with human creativity. The Meridian would act as bait, broadcasting signals that would make it appear defenseless. The Vorthak ships would hide nearby, ready to respond when the rebels arrived. But the key to the plan was something the rebels would never expect: full cooperation between humans and Vorthaks. Dr. Phillips and the Vorthak medical team worked together to develop a way to track the rebels' ships through the same markers they had planted in Zarathea. If they could reverse the tracking signal, they could follow the rebels back to their base. Jake and the Vorthak engineers combined human adaptability with alien technology to create new defensive systems for the Meridian. Lieutenant Ryan Foster, the human tactical officer, worked with Vorthak military advisors to plan battle strategies that neither species would use alone. Through it all, Jake remained connected to Zarathea through the neural link. The medical necessity was ending as the poison left her system, but neither of them wanted to break the connection. "This is what partnership could look like," she said to him during a quiet moment. "Our peoples working together, each contributing their strengths." "It's not going to be easy," Jake replied. "Your people are used to giving orders and humans don't like being told what to do. Then we'll have to find a new way, something between human chaos and Vorthak order." 6 hours later, the rebel ships arrived. There were 3 of them, sleek black vessels that seemed to absorb light. They approached the Meridian confidently, clearly expecting an easy target. They were wrong. The battle was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The rebels used advanced weapons and traditional tactics, attacking the Meridian head-on. But the human ship was ready for them. Instead of trying to match their firepower, the humans used speed and unpredictability. The Meridian danced between the rebel ships, using the cover of asteroids and debris from the original alien wreckage. When the rebels moved to surround them, the hidden Vorthak ships revealed themselves, but instead of charging into battle as the rebels expected, they used the tracking data to target the rebels' weak points with surgical precision. The combination of human unpredictability and Vorthak precision was devastating. 2 rebel ships were disabled within minutes. The third tried to flee, but the tracking system allowed the combined fleet to follow it. "Target the ship's drive systems," Zarathea ordered. "I want prisoners, not corpses." The fleeing rebel ship was captured, and the prisoners were brought aboard the Meridian for questioning. Under interrogation, they revealed the truth that shocked everyone. The rebellion wasn't being led by disaffected Vorthak citizens. It was being funded and organized by a rival galactic power that wanted to weaken the Vorthak Empire. They had been systematically studying Vorthak weaknesses and developing weapons specifically designed to exploit them. "This changes everything," Prince Kethavar said grimly. "If another galactic power is behind the attacks, we're facing a war. Not a rebellion. A war your empire might not be able to win alone," Jake added. General Morden, who had been skeptical of human abilities, was forced to admit the truth. "Your tactics were effective. Our traditional strategies would have failed against this enemy." Captain Chen stepped forward. "General, our people are still small compared to galactic powers, but we're good at adapting and improvising. Maybe that's exactly what you need." Prince Kethavar looked at his sister. "Zarathea, are you truly willing to risk everything for this alliance?" Through the neural link, Jake felt her certainty. "Brother, I've experienced what cooperation between our peoples can accomplish. We saved my life, captured enemy agents, and learned the truth about the rebellion. Imagine what we could do with full cooperation. And your marriage to Prince Veltar." Zarathea looked directly at Jake. "I choose to marry for love, not politics. If the Zephyrians want an alliance with the Vorthak Empire, they can negotiate one based on mutual benefit, not forced relationships." General Morden shook his head. "Princess, your father will never agree to this." "Then I'll convince him. I'll show him the intelligence we gathered. I'll demonstrate what human innovation can accomplish. And if necessary, I'll remind him that his daughter's happiness should matter too." Dr. Phillips interrupted the political discussion. "The neural link is stable enough to disconnect safely now. The princess is fully cured." Jake felt a moment of panic. He didn't want to lose the connection that had brought them so close together. "Actually," Dr. Martinez said, "we could make the link permanent if both parties agree. The technology exists to create a stable, long-term neural bridge." Zarathea looked at Jake with hope in her star-filled eyes. "Would you want that?" "Are you sure that's what you want?" Jake asked. "A permanent connection to a chaotic human mind? Your chaos saved my life and opened my eyes to new possibilities. Yes, I want that connection." Prince Kethavar watched his sister carefully. "Zarathea, are you certain this is not just gratitude or the effects of trauma?" Through the neural link, Jake felt her love for him as clearly as his own heartbeat. It was real, deep and strong enough to build a future on. "Brother," she said softly, "I have never been more certain of anything in my life." The permanent neural link was established the next day. But more importantly, It became the symbol of a new alliance between humanity and the Vorthak Empire. Jake was appointed as the first human ambassador to the Vorthak court. His mission was to establish joint research programs, combined military units, and cultural exchange programs. Captain Dan Murphy, a veteran human military advisor, was assigned to work with Vorthak strategists to develop new battle tactics that combined the strengths of both species. Ambassador Kate Williams was sent to the Vorthak capital to negotiate formal treaties and trade agreements. Alex Cooper, a young human engineer, led a team that began developing hybrid technologies using both human innovation and Vorthak resources. But perhaps most importantly, Jake and Zarathia's relationship proved that cooperation between species was not just possible, but beneficial for everyone involved. "You realize," Jake told her as they watched Earth rise over the horizon of their new shared home, "we're going to spend the rest of our lives proving that love is stronger than politics." "Good," Zarathia replied, her hand in his. "I can't think of a better way to spend forever." Through their neural link, they shared the same thought. This was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and opportunities, but together, combining human adaptability with Vorthak wisdom, they could face anything. The alien princess had fought against needing him, but in the end, she discovered that needing someone wasn't weakness. It was the foundation of strength that neither species could achieve alone. And in the